Well, it's interesting to come into this chamber and hear those members opposite talk about healthcare, because, as they say, the proof is in the pudding. And those members opposite have for such a long time complained about how allegedly we were going to scrap Medicare, we were going to be doing, we all remember about the Mediscare campaign of the 2019 campaign, election campaign. Of course, that was all proven to be absolute rubbish, but it doesn't stop them from continuing along with their fabrications. But it's really interesting to hear those opposite talk about Medicare and pharmaceuticals because, and as I said before, the proof is in the pudding. And I want to use a very salient and topical example, and that's the town of Montville. Those opposite are patting themselves on the back and saying how wonderful they are in government for making changes to healthcare. Well, I can tell you now, Madam Deputy Speaker, there's not too many people in the township of Montville in my electorate who are sharing with government members about how wonderful a job they say that they are doing. Why? Well, at the beginning of this year, in January, Montville lost its doctor. Ochre Health said that it was no longer economically viable for them to continue to operate in Montville. So, regrettably, they pulled out. They closed down their surgery, and they were the only GP in Montville. So, what followed from that? In fact, after the Labor Party announced their changes to Medicare, their increase in funding to Medicare, I got on the phone to one of the directors of Ochre Health and said, "Will this make a difference? Is this enough for you to stay in town? Can you bring another doctor back?" "No, won't make any difference," he said. "It'll make no difference to his business model, to Ochre's business model. They're not coming back." So that was really unfortunate, really unfortunate. The people of Montville now no longer have a doctor. Now, what flowed from the fact that Montville no longer has a doctor, people go to see a doctor in Maleny. They go to see a doctor in Nambour. And what that means is that, particularly as a result of the increase in cost of living, the increase in cost of doing business, as some of those opposite may have heard me talking about in question time today, Montville has just lost its pharmacist. Its pharmacy closed yesterday. And why? Because there's no doctor in town anymore. And Natalie Lindner, who is the pharmacist in town, or was the pharmacist in Montville, specifically said that the change by the Labor government to the 60-day dispensing rule has meant that her business will no longer be viable. So between losing the doctor, now losing the pharmacy, and now the newsagents is talking about closing, these things have a knock-on effect in a small country town. Now, those members opposite, the Labor government, did no economic modelling whatsoever. They talked to some of the large, very large pharmacies, but they didn't talk to community pharmacists about the impact that this was going to have. We warned them. The pharmaceutical, the guild, the pharmacy guild, warned them that there would be closures of pharmacies in small towns. They didn't listen. Either they didn't listen or they didn't care, one of the two. But they were warned that small pharmacies, mum and dad, community pharmacies would close, and guess what? The first one closed yesterday, and it happens to be in my electorate in Montville. I can tell you now, Madam Deputy Speaker, that the people in Montville, the same people, the 775 people that signed a petition that I tabled in the last sitting week, they are not congratulating the Labor government on their reforms, on the wonderful, so-called wonderful work that they are doing in health in this country.